Yo. Okay.
Reportando desde Chile insurrecta. No, para, si de hecho hay que hablar de esto, ¿no? Hablas de Barcelona y yo hablo de Chile y nos juntamos. Algunas etimologías en inglés y otras en castellano, lo que atañe a castellano en castellano y el resto en inglés. Porque claro que te gusta decir motherfucker, ¿qué coño? Los chuches su madre lo decimos en jerga, el galé criminal acá, criollo. Ok.
Welcome everybody to Casual Comrades. This is like a very improvised stream today, so I hope you people are happy with it. We got with us we got Rene coming from Chile, reporting from the awful situation happening in Chile. So Rene, what up?
Okay, so you want to know about the whole situation?
Yes.
Well, basically, I think it's a resonating board from across the world, and it started from a few pockets here from Hong Kong. Even though I had my doubts about Hong Kong, Ecuador, of course, you over there in Barcelona, even though that's an ongoing thing, and of course here it grabbed like attention and coincidentally perhaps the appearance in the Marquet in the ongoing process of 30 years or more after Pinochet left, similar perhaps to Spain, and without the we have the United States on top of us, and you have like the whole thing about Europe and Germany and the World Bank and all of that. But there's something similar because when Piñera's second election period, the international no the World Bank in fact got involved in the election. And there was like a member of the World Bank who doctored the books and faked the economic percent statistics regarding Michelle Bachelet's center left, very center left government. What happened now is that they, as you've read perhaps, that they raised the
The metro fares, right?
the metro, right? Yeah, the subway fare. But at the same time, previously they had raised the electric bill. That's something that's a first for you. Majority Report doesn't know about that.
Yeah, it's like because it's like
So,
all those
kind of
liberals are
situation.
saying like all of this is it's about just the metro fares. And it's like no, not really. This is deep.
Yeah,
This is deep.
but the problem here is that there's like two forces. I mean, three forces in fact. One is that they are the neoliberals.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Something happened with the audio. Do you have like are you good on coverage and stuff?
Some people that were like the typical like pompous sasses from as you. Yeah, wait one moment. Let me. I'm gonna connect further from the
Yeah, don't worry about it.
uh,
The thing is,
one
all
moment.
those media outlets and stuff are just giving out the impression that
Okay, how
yeah, good, much better. All those media outlets are giving the impression that the Chile situation is like it comes out of the blue and just because of the metro fares, and it's very important to say like no, it's like
it's sort of out of the blue because the tradition in Chile here was that people would grin and bear it. I mean, we're kind of like British in that sense because, as you know, in the kind of colonial period with the Spanish and all that, the most like resilient and the most basically stubborn and idiots would come over here to what was considered like the Vietnam of the Spanish Empire, along with the Philippines.
yeah,
So we have that in our DNA to like take and ride a workhorse that puts up with a lot, but we reached our breaking point. And as a president, there's been like a lot of student protests over the years. It started out that even the right got involved because it was a way to destabilize the center left governments. But at the same time, there was like a lot of there's still a lot of you can say like criticism regarding the educational system and regarding infrastructure and all that, especially since it's been municipalized. So they took from the state and they give it to the local governments and all that. And there was like a lot of like what's it called, like charter schools that we say that they're paid by the municipal government, so they're like private, but at the same time uh, backed by financed by local government. And so that started like a sort of like started the fire, shall we say. And then after a while, it was regarding the teachers and all that, the teacher union, and whether they can unionize or not, and that whole situation, as well as the amount of hours and what have you. And now, regarding the metro fare, it especially affected the students, and they were and all that. So it was like a very, very kind of like homegrown popular movement. That's the problem. The government doesn't know whom to talk to. I mean, they'd have to talk to like with whom? I mean, football players that everybody listens to, or they'd have to talk to Antifa, or with the student body and all that, or the student presidents, because this has happened. Even the Communist Party is has been like on the sideline and all that.
It's like not even the
The
Communist
communist
Party.
mayor of the Recoleta municipality has managed to come out on the streets. And yeah, but I mean, still, there is a communist presence with like a presidential hopeful. Everybody that matters. Sorry, um, that he has gone out on the streets to face the military, because Pinera has called military, and there's like a military curfew. There's like a martial law, even though it's not being said as such. It's because it's for security or what have you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the military also shot like I'm not sure if it was like some um, rubber bullets or what at a BBC news that they were reporting and all that.
Yeah, but you
They were
know
like
that's
interviewing
that's kind of,
somebody, even though it was like during the curfew hours.
but people kind of need to know that doesn't come out of the blue. If you know what I mean. That there's like an important thing there to know. You know.
Yeah, I'm giving like I'm giving a lot of presidents. Like, there's a lot of people that are criticizing. A lot of people, it's like they sold out and such like that, but they don't understand that being under the military boot has, even though we're allegedly under we're undergoing a democracy. We're in a democracy allegedly, despite the Constitution being the same as Pinochet's Constitution, as I've said in chat when I've found you in other YouTube programs. But which might be the difference between that perhaps Franco Constitution. Then here in Chile is that actually the left, especially your left, the hard left, the left that were street fighters, that even though Allende said to not to oppose Pinochet in the beginning and all that, sure they should take to the streets, but they shouldn't like
Yeah, it's like going
do any guerrilla warfare or such. Even
taking
the
to the
military
streets
that
is
were
nice, but you
backing
gotta
it.
have like a background there. You gotta have like a something, you gotta have a social capital to back it with. You know what I mean?
Yes, there's that, but there's also if you like closing the streets with grape shot, as Napoleon called it,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. The problem is, yeah,
when that
right.
happened in the streets of Paris, it's kind of hard. But what happened later on during the dictatorship is that he all of this, the hard left, and that's what people are using now in order to oppose these neoliberal conditions, and they're demanding that Pineda leaves office and all that, and he's responding to that with a military violence and our police that are kind of like in Spain also militarized.
Yeah, it's like it's good for them to escalate this thing because they can totally risk the bad optics because they have the power anyway.
Yes, what happens is that they're following I think they're following like a manual against insurgency, and then there's somebody else that says no. What happens is that, as I've said, that Chile isn't a country per se. It's like a holding. It's like a company, a corporation.
Yeah,
Especially now since we have a president who's like a corp, like Trump. He's like a member of various. He's the head of like various like corporate chairs and such. And it's like when there's like, especially now with a lack of unions, when there's like a strike or something like that, they try to set the people against each other, like in the students. But now it's like it's a majority of people that are being are taken to the streets. I've seen like families and things like that, people taking their dog, what have you. It's quite sectional now.
yeah. It seems like this is
Machismo,
galvanizing everybody against the government.
exactly, or in fact against an ideology, a kind of like a economy.
Yeah, and I think Michaela made a very fair question here, saying like, what now? From? Is there a solution? Is there a way, to figure out what to do now? Being things the way they are, like taking, like the freaking government has taken the military out. So, what do we do now?
Well, the problem is that it's gradually it's trying to crystallize and such like that. But the problem is that a lot of people aren't believing in the political actors or the social actors. There's nobody as I said, to talk to. And the other thing that I said, that Piñera is basically a salesman. It's the art of the deal. It's the same thing with Trump.
Yeah,
How are you going to negotiate with somebody who's going to lie to you, who's going to sell you a bad car?
yeah. It needs to be a correlation of forces, and I think it should be like a. I mean, best possible scenario could be like a reverse Pinochet, let's say, like the
No,
taking the military
I
power away from.
hmm. Well, the problem is, I mean, there has been the president. I have to be neutral and say that there has been the president that, for instance, Piñera said that we're at war, right?
Yeah,
And then a few hours later, the general said, "No, I'm a happy man. I'm not at war with anyone."
exactly, exactly. It's
And
like
then later on, that same general changed his discourse in saying, "Of course, we have to establish like he got somebody told him off or something like that."
yeah, order and bullshit.
But yeah, but I think that the problem is that the military has always been like the watchdogs for the oligarchy since Pinochet, since Allende, because they did something very specific that was like killing all the Democratic Republican military before Pinochet assumed power. Now, I think that if it's bothering people like Walmart, like those kind of like multi corporations and all that, and the powers that be, shall we say, like the huge families, like the oligarchical patriarchal families, landowning families are like really bothered. There might be like that with the military in charge.
For sure, they have to force elections right now. I mean, the guy has lost any political ground, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but at the same time, he could be like, we're as Chilean, we're traditionally stubborn, and it kind of like takes us a while to let go of the reins, shall we say?
Yeah,
So that could be, it can get even worse regarding. I mean, yesterday, because I live uptown with all the pretty boys, with all the fancy lads, and what happened is that there's like the city's divided into like the rich and the poor, like in Metropolis. And the thing is that the yesterday there was like a march up towards and right in the middle of that, of like a frontier, there's like the military school with their officers and all such. So they had like small tanks and troops along that border, like um, preventing people from going uptown. But now the people have managed to this mass of people have reached the conclusion of entering from the other way, from behind the military school, and now they're heading towards what I call ASCA, like in Madrid, like the
yeah,
financial center.
Aska, yeah.
Yeah, and they're right there protesting. So there's like various like in the city, as well throughout the country, like focal points of and they're talking right in the ear of the oligarchs, so like the big companies and such, especially like Land Chile, with whom the president used to be on the board of directors.
But they have to
And
know that they have all the people against them as of now. So you know, they
yeah, what they're trying to do disingenuously through, I mean, nobody's paying attention. I mean, people are even going to the headquarters, to the offices of the main television stations here in Chile in order to protest against the TV, because they know that mainly it's all propaganda, sheer propaganda against the populace, and just filling them with nonsense. And but as a difference between other years is that now there's like a timid voice then and again of some journalist who comments that no, this was a long time coming, the people are angry.
yeah, of course, and that's the thing. That's the thing that there's no out of context thing like some of the mainstream media are saying. We got someone joining us today. It's Ron. Let's say hi to Ron. Ron, what's up?
Hi Ron.
Hey, good to see you. How you doing?
Is I think there's a problem with Ron's
Yeah,
audio.
yeah. Are you muted or something?
Yeah, Mike. Can
There
you
you
hear me
go.
now?
There you go.
Yeah,
Ron, what's
I
Yeah,
up?
have
a bit of latency, but
three different
nothing else.
things
Yeah, of course.
going on.
Don't worry about it. How you doing?
Uh, I am sullen and morose, but I am always sullen and morose. So take that what you will. And I've been listening to this stuff about Chile. I actually learned about this a couple of weeks ago. I was in another stream. It's like you can say a lot of things, but it's great that people are acting up and doing the things that are important to them.
Right.
Uh,
But
That's
but basically there isn't an organization per se. That's the only problem. It's not like a general. I mean, little by little, there's calls to strike, and there's also like contravening forces that kind of like try to use the situation to their own advantage as well.
mm,
For instance, the
yeah.
truckers over here who are far right sometimes. Well, most of the time.
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem. We had that problem. Like, the only thing I can relate that to is like here in the US, you had like the Occupy movement and the Tea Party that were going on at roughly the same time. And like the Tea Party full on got co opted by right wing business interests. So, like, that's definitely something you've got to be aware of.
You know what I made the comparison to, which was even more so, was Black Lives Matter,
Oh, yeah, that too.
because that was more of an insurrection, and it's still ongoing today. And that was like kind of like from the people themselves, rather than directed by any political actors or organizations or what have you. It was like sheer indignation of what was happening. And just like in Black Lives Matter, it started out because the police, the militarized police over here, were like repressing strongly against the students that started this kind of turnstile revolt, jumping revolt.
Yeah, did you see that video of the carabineros shooting cocaine before going to beat up
Yeah,
people?
the
What the fuck?
official, yeah, the official. I mean, over here, we've all heard about like they do several things in order to piss off the right police. For instance, they'd bring in like, and this is like old tradition, like from the Pinochet days. They bring in like people from the, I mean, police from the countryside in order to into the city in order to like get them like mentally unstable or something like that, like out of their element. And the other thing is that during the Pinochet days, they would give them like a lot of amphetamines and speed and such in order to like sort of like what Hitler did
Yeah.
with the Wehrmacht. But on the other hand, what the police are saying is no, that they're taking some kind of like a special like drops or something like that because of the what's it called, the gas and all that.
Yeah, the tear gas and all that
The tear
bullshit.
gas?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, we've learned a lot about not just the lemon that we can now eat. You have to use like baking soda. This is for you in the United States when it comes to an unrest goes over there. That you mix some baking soda and into what's it called, like the kafouye, like a scarf or anything like that with water, and that will help you with the tear gas.
Yeah,
Give you
there
some
there are
That
some
tips.
makes
tricks to resist the tear gas. I heard
yeah,
some
that makes
recipes.
Yeah,
yeah.
we can
The
trade
thing about
recipes later on.
tear gas is that it's an aerosol, which means that like it's not a gas in its natural state. It has to be heated up or treated in some way. Tear gas specifically has to be heated up and sprayed as a powder. So if you can get a tear gas canister and isolate it, like put a bucket over it, then you'll pretty much neutralize it.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that. Okay, I'll let everybody know then. But regarding what I've also like, if you like start drinking like Gatorade or something like that, that also neutralizes it. Like when I was in during in this Sunday, I mean last Sunday, I went to the protests and all that, and I saw like a little girl, like suffering from inhaling tear gas and all that, and I gave her the the last like Gatorade that I had in the bottle, and that like helped her with neutralizing the effects of the tear gas. So what's your response regarding, because as you can see, it's sort of similar. I kind of call it like everybody's moved like a step to the right. Like now our socialists are more like Christian Democrats who are kind of like I guess like the center left in the United States. And our communists now are more like,
Window all the way to the right. I think it's happening worldwide, because in everywhere where there is capitalism, the right has to take over because they're the ones who are gonna guarantee that they're good for business, right? So they're supported by the whole economic elite.
but that was like that's like the old discourse. Now they have to change, right?
Yeah,
Now that they see that they
kinda.
have like
They're facing resistance, but they're gonna commodify it just like everybody else, like everything else. Like right now, there's these huge riots as well in Catalonia because of the process of the
I saw that in the
independence
news.
movement. Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's very obvious that the powers that be, that the government and the Spanish side of things, as well as the bourgeoisie, the Catalonian bourgeoisie, are accelerating this movement just because there are like elections coming. So there are these judges, and in Spain we have like a big problem of very extreme far right judges because when the Spanish dictator Franco died in 1975, nobody replaced the judges, the police, and everything else. I mean, we had elections.
it's kind of like similar over here, and also
Yeah,
probably with Germany after the war.
we have so many similarities between Chile and Spain in the way that you told that you're like a very resilient people. that can take like a huge beating until there's like a breaking point, and then it's kind of too late.
Well, of course, we're like your naughty stepchildren, I guess,
Yeah, yeah,
like your grand.
we're very very similar. Like
Plus,
our societies are
plus the
very
Ma-
similar.
plus the Mapuche, who are kind of like I don't know, like Native American Basque, I suppose,
Yeah, definitely,
in terms of mentality.
definitely. Which, by the way, huge support to the Mapuche people. And
Right,
if
on both sides in Argentina and Chile, Panama.
exactly, and if you guys don't know about the Mapuche people, give it some research and give them some love, because those are true Native American
They're the
populations who are
Greta
suffering.
they're the Greta Thunberg before Greta Thunberg.
Exactly.
Like
There's
percent.
so much to learn from the native peoples of America, and basically America, because they're the ones that are more untouched. Like in the ones in Europe, were fucked up
Right.
by these
Basically, yeah.
Europeans.
I know you're talking like the Laplanders, the Sami, and all that.
Yeah, the Sami, and the Sami are the very few left untouched, and the
Right.
Mongolians and whatnot. But not much
No, but
left.
even then, the Basque are like natural. Right. I mean, you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're using that violence for electoral purposes and to mobilize the right to vote, basically,
Uh,
because right
but
wingers.
there's still like some like weight to the fact that they should be even more so autonomous, and if they want to, they can be like an independent country within the United Europe.
It is incredibly
Uh,
fair that they want to have their autonomy, and it is the super super legitimate claim that they're doing. They have their own, both people. I mean, all of them, like the Basques, the Galicians, the Catalonians.
I
Uh,
think there's a difference between taxes that the tax law
yeah,
is different between the Basque and
but that matters most for the bourgeoisie than for the working class in both of the
oh no, of
places.
course. I mean, even if there's like an independence movement and all that, then later on has to be followed by
Yeah,
social justice.
and
The
it and,
peerage, which I mean like the counts and the royalty and all that, they
and
have to go.
yeah, of course. I mean, I, who wouldn't leave Spain? I would leave Spain in a whim, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it can't be like a baby Spain next to it, right?
exactly.
The
You cannot
peerage is
reproduce the same shit.
yeah.
What's the point? Defeats the purpose. And it's like you know uh, there are right wing independentists as well that are using this.
Of course,
There
of
are people
course.
on both sides lighting the fuel, and I hate the both sides because there's no symmetry there. It wouldn't.
Right, but there's always going to like in as I was saying like in these like kind of public manifestations, there's always going to be like some kind of uh, parasite movement from the right, like trying to gain like momentum from civil unrest. But for instance, over here in Chile, our extreme right candidate, like populist Strazerite candidate, Jose Antonio Cast. You can see that the last name is very, very German. The thing is that he's nowhere to be seen because he has no discourse from that because all of his like populism was fake. It was bogus, just like Steve Bannon's. Push comes to shove and all that. It's it's he's on the side of the business people, right?
Yeah, I hear you there.
Yeah,
I mean, same.
and they published like a letter regarding that I guess the fascist cards and all that instead of like being part of the revolution, they had to be like counter-revolutionary and in order to impose like law and order and all that, and that removed them from out of the equation.
And that's one of the things that we need to take off people's minds. Like a revolution is not like all the people go out to the streets and make fires. That's not a freaking revolution. It's a very long
But
process.
that's the problem over here in Chile because there's like there's various crazy things happening like there's a of course there's people setting on fires and all that because in order the best way in order for an insurgency to gain power is to block the access from the streets and all that. There's been looting and all that, but it's strange because there's like a lot of information, like videos on YouTube, on for via WhatsApp and Facebook. Even though the Facebook is taking them down, of the police and the military, like
Looting as well.
incentivizing the looting and all that,
Yeah,
and
so I saw this video from a
breaking
carabinero
in.
putting a big TV on the trunk of the carabinero car,
Exactly.
pretending nobody was
And
seeing them.
and of
Motherfucker.
course, if you're going to like open like a huge like shopping mall, or a huge store, or supermarket, like these giant supermarkets, like kind of like the Kmart's or the Walmarts in the United States,
Yeah,
of course you're going to need like some kind of like a military grade vehicle in order to like break it open or something like that. Not just anyone can break in.
yeah,
So, and it's all like kind of like orchestrated, because then later on the TV shows like with the TV cameras, the looters, and then the police arrive. It's like sort of like a soap opera.
yeah,
And
definitely. It's the narrative,
and
we need order. So who's gonna impose order? So don't be
right,
surprised, that an even
If we don't
harder
have
right
order,
winger.
they'll steal all of our televisions.
There you go, there you go. You know the drill.
right. But on the other hand, I can understand that also, like within the neoliberal society of consumers and all that, that people are like desperate and want to take anything back from the system. I suppose if the military are like breaking open the doors and the windows and all that to let looters in. I mean, the looters themselves, if they're part of the populace,
Yeah,
are just
it's a
they're
very
simply
it's a very common thing in the media to report, to have people sensitized to the rights of property. Oh, the poor property, they're damaging property. It's like,
Hey,
motherfucker.
right.
hey,
But what
hey,
happens
hey,
over here in Chile is that
when do lives matter?
Yeah,
yeah, that
exactly.
people confuse because there haven't been like the bread tube that has been like I mean, except like people like me that get on online and all that. There hasn't been like the differentiation between personal and private property and all that. So now they're talking about looting, like that they're looting private homes and all that, and also that we've been living like a kind of like instability regarding like the just like in the United States when in the lower income housing, like in I don't know, like in California, like Brentwood and Crenshaw, or like a Compton or what have you, when they started like introducing like hard drugs and that and all that, that kind of destabilized like the whole like social network of those kind of neighborhoods. And nowadays, there's even like the police are getting involved. It's something that's not explained, like perhaps on foreign media, that even the police are like involved in crime. Like you can either order like a Colombian immigrant to be a hitman, or you can go straight to the police and ask and hire a policeman to be a hitman.
Yeah, yeah. Same as in
Yikes.
Mexico and other places, where
Right. But
corruption
over
is
here,
is
there
the
was like
law.
the conceit that we were like a well-ordered, kind of like anally retentive kind of country. Basically, it's kind of like what Gore Vidal said about like the Russians in the Soviet period, that they had to like look at the newspaper like obliquely, because they had to like read behind between the lines and such.
That's true for
But
a lot of
even
media.
now,
That's true for a lot of media news organizations nowadays because, like, all of the news media are owned by either conglomerates that are themselves giant corporations and serve the interest of those corporations, or they're subsidized by people who have a vested interest in maintaining the power structure of those corporations and therefore in the extant system.
well, basically what we are is just a huge conglomerate, because I mean, even in our public, like our kind of like a TVE or BBC that we have over here, like Televisión Nacional, that still has to use like commercial financing, like use advertisements and such. Um, they still have like in their board of directors people that used to be like in corporate board of directors, like kind of like the power of Westinghouse and NBC and whatnot
And that
on
that's that
CBS.
happened like with Pinochet. That started with Pinochet and the Chicago Boys.
Right. I mean that, but it kind of like we were like kind of like the petri dish for the rest of the world,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
but at the same time now there's like kind of like another element to it, which is like kind of like the globalization kind of element, that people don't understand, because over here we were used to the kind of like colonial Charles V. Perhaps Javi can explain like the kind of like a feudal kind of system
Yeah.
that the landowner was like the had his kind of like hacienda. It has a different name throughout the Spanish Empire.
Yeah, full power, but it's a model. It's a capitalist model, more or less. Like all those people who push for deregulations are pushing for going back to the Middle Ages, where if you own a company, if you own a land, if you own a chunk of property, like actual private property, not personal property, you can treat all your employees as basically you see fit, and the regulation there is around it, the more you can actually have like a slavery back in the plate, because it's your
Yeah, but
property and you do whatever you
nowadays
want.
there's no like kind of like a adherence to something like it's more abstract, because you can have like something that spans, like for instance now there's Chilean corporations that span throughout Latin America,
Yeah.
and and they can just sell off their actives and move someplace else, so that kind of like there's no like attachment. And on the other hand, like you can you they're like they're on the open market, so somebody might own something, but if they put it in charge of somebody else, like a board of directors, or they hired somebody, then they mightn't have like a minority vote, and they're no longer in charge of their own company. They just receive the profits, shall we say.
Yeah.
So the whole feudal system only exists in a kind of fantasy within like this kind of ideological mindscape, but the reality, it's completely different.
Still. Don't you think you have to do like a whole Hugo Chavez kind of thing, go pointing at places and say expropiese, expropriate, expropriate, expropriate,
Yeah,
expropriate, expropriate,
that's what people are, that's what the corporations and such are kind of scared of that. But I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
they're
that
they're
is a
listening.
legitimate
They're
tactic, though. I mean, if you have systems that are disrupting, that's something. I don't like taking Twitter seriously. Nobody should take Twitter seriously. But
For
something that
us,
kind of
it's
agitates me is that, like, there are
for
these
us,
people
like
on. Beg your pardon?
for us, information wise, it's a lifeline nowadays.
Oh,
Go.
yeah. I don't mean it like that. I mean like silly arguments that people have on Twitter.
Yeah.
Disseminating information is always important, especially when you have people clamping down on information. That's absolutely something that people need Twitter and other online resources for. I'm
There's
more talking about
there's talking heads
silly
such
arguments
that
that
say
people have.
nonsense, right?
Yeah, let's say it's a
Right.
good platform for information, but not for analysis.
Yes.
In a nutshell.
Yes.
Okay.
And the thing that I was getting at is there are people who are upset over like different tactics that people are using. Like there were these people on Twitter. There was one person specifically who I was talking to who was really upset that people in Extinction Rebellion in the UK were working to get themselves arrested in mass.
Yeah.
And I tried to explain to that person, yeah, no, hold on. That's a legitimate tactic. That's called like prison cracking or something, prison breaking or something like that. And that's
Okay.
something they did during the civil rights movement. If you overwhelm the systems that house people who are being convicted of crimes, then you make it so that it makes it 100 times more difficult for people to get arrested. And it creates an environment in those systems where people have the power to, if it's necessary, rise up and fight back against the people who are imprisoning them.
Right. Right. I understand that, because I've seen like when I've listened to the Antifada with Jamie Peck and such. Shout out. Um, that basically there's people that sign up to be arrested, that they say, do you want to get arrested or not, and it's all in order to see who's going to follow that tactic. I understand. Yeah. And in this case, what we have like here in Chile, there's like basically there's that also, and there's people that get released later on, but there's like a lot of fear, because there are people that have gone missing and that have been shot on the streets and that haven't been reported as such and what have you.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
that
Like I
comes
wouldn't
a bit more.
if you're in the middle of like a state in the middle of I saw videos of this stuff. I saw videos of cops just beating people who were trying to run away from something. I don't know what they were running away from.
Right,
But like the larger point I was making is that you have to be aware of the systems that are oppressing people. And if you can disrupt those systems, then you can effectively cripple the methods that are used to oppress people.
right, right,
Absolutely. And like the people who are in the place where the oppression is happening, oppressors always understand the nature of their oppression better than anyone else. So if they say, hey, screwing around with these things is going to disrupt us being oppressed further, then that's absolutely something that they should do.
right, right. I think what they're doing now is like taking the message to the office buildings and such, and like especially in the case of that there has been like several worker strikes and problems with like labor related problems like with the national, well now it's international airline company Lan Chile that's now Lantam, a conglomerate. And so basically like gathering like support from the workers from those office buildings and trying to build a much larger thing, much like I guess like a cell, like a unit, a multicellular, or, I mean, transitioning from unicellular to a multicellular organism or something like that in order to carry it on to biology, microbiology.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is that complicates it is now that the military is getting involved.
Yeah, that was scary.
So I
Yeah,
think
I heard about that.
so. The thing that we can do is like basically make it more. I mean, make it less profitable for people to continue doing this and like losing like money and making attacking like this the image of stability of Chile throughout the world and basically getting on the oligarchy's nerves, I suppose. But the thing that I don't want is like a kind of like a that they there are people that are trying to toy with the idea of like a of like social revenge or something like almost malice in that sense. People on both people, I mean, rightists that are kind of like from the extreme right that are trying to pass on as like anarchists or such like that.
We had a guy in
Because
Spain.
I understand like the the social um, unquiet that there's been and such and an unrest that there's like a rage regarding this, the disparity of income in this country.
Of course. That's what you get when you
That's
apply
what there should
savage
be.
neoliberalism. Alas, you know that savage
Right.
neoliberalism is it's accelerationist, and it's scary, you know, because as of
Yeah.
you know that's one of the things that we need to know. You know, if in Chile there are as of today a good network, a sufficient network of dual power structures.
Yeah. There's kind of like there are like local. I mean, that's what the right is. I mean, that's what the government is trying to like destabilize is a kind of like a mutual aid and community support and getting us to mistrust each other because what these people that try to be like populist and talk about like this kind of like narrative of revenge is that this is like transsectional. I mean, it's intersectional and it's people from all parts of society that are like that now are like incentivized in order to like rebel against the status quo, especially in the wake of like if they're saying that the return of like a military curfew and all that. It was a huge shock because we went from like zero to 500 like over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, yeah,
Yikes.
it was very fast. It was maybe way
Yeah,
fast. And
it
right
was
now,
immediately. It was like immediately like Vladimir Lenin said. days became, I mean, seconds became, I mean, days became seconds, and seconds became like eons. I don't know,
Yeah, I
more
get
so.
what you I get what you say. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm exaggerating what he said, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I get what you say. So what now? You know what's to do? What are possible solutions to this situation as of now? What?
Um, what's happening now is it's growing, and what the used car salesman is saying that he's ready to enter in negotiations and sell us a bad car. And the other thing is that basically he wants to like reunite all of the political parties, but guess what? He left the communists out because the communists had said previously that they weren't going to enter any negotiations regarding um, lowering the metro, the subway fare, which was the original problem, allegedly, regarding. So he lowered it back to the original price, and he said that they were going to use like a kind of like a government subsidy in order to pay it off. Because basically, that hike in the metro fare was in order to pay off something that the majority report also didn't mention, was that it was in regards to paying off these new electric buses
Yeah,
that were going to be involved in the that were going to be systematically used and throughout the public transport system. And but that of course that would incremented like the cost of increase the cost of living. And it's sort of similar with the Gillette Jaune, right? It started like with something like ecological, quote unquote, and it was actually hiding something like neoliberal and kind of
exactly.
affecting the cost of living. Right,
Neoliberals pretending they're concerned about ecology is a big problem. Is
right.
yeah. This,
But it was crazy because these buses are kind of like luxurious because they have like USB, because it's kind of like a USB ports and such. It's kind of like a it was kind of like a business deal because these are all subcontracts
oh, of
from the
course,
government.
from a friend, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We know those things. I mean, them being technologically good and clean and nice and neat. It's fine. You know, the problem is how you pay for that, and how you pay for that is you raise the taxes of the richest, not have the poor pay for it. And
exactly. I was gonna mention that. I mean, the way things are right now is that there's now like some voices in regards of the oligarchy, especially the business community, that's saying that I guess we have to like pay our share in order to help stabilize the economy and the populace and what have you.
do you think the Chilean Communist Party are to be trusted to be backed into turning this around?
It's not the problem with trust. It's the problem is confidence. If you're asking me, it's whether I trust them or not. I mean, they're Chilean just like everybody else, and they need to be there. The socialists, I've been writing to them on Twitter saying that they have to get their asses out of, I mean, their head out of their asses because they're using like a calm down, everything is going to be okay kind of discourse that's useless.
Yeah, middle ground bullshit.
Right, but yeah, because they've become the Christian Democrats, and the Christian Democrats have vanished. They've become
Yeah,
part of the. They've been swallowed by the right.
yeah.
But
Professional
the th-
deactivators,
right, but
de-radicalizers.
the thing is that the the problem is that there's like such a lack of confidence that what they want is like the lowering of wages of regarding the senators and such like that, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, which at the same time nobody's seeing, because I mean, since I'm like somebody that's live abroad and talks to always to people like yourselves, the problem with that is that that's going to be like even huge disparity regarding the lobby of corporations and all that getting involved in politics and all that.
yeah, yeah,
But even the politicians and senators and such are saying that maybe we have to take a cut in order to prove like some bona fides and such in order to like to perhaps like narrow the income gap that there is in the country.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I hope you find like a good solution, and I don't know.
As of now, I think what you might say, and you might like use like a lot of theory and text, and perhaps you can tell me in regards to how the Podemos movement has, because now we have the symbol. I mean, there's people that are using clown mask and all that, but we don't have a name of the movement. But how Podemos coalesce and all that, that we need somebody, we probably gradually it'll reach its kind of a maturity
Yeah, but Podemos
if it
Podemos
if it doesn't get stomped on.
I can tell you about Podemos. Podemos is like it's like the most decent thing that you can vote as of today in the bourgeois elections. But they're still playing like in a system that, if you know what I mean, is not gonna deliver. They're trying, and it's good to vote for them because they're gonna apply like in their programs. There's all kinds of social reforms and whatnot, but they're insufficient. And one thing that worries me about all these things, like here in Madrid, we happen to have like the Manuela Carmena and the Ahora Madrid movement, which was kind of municipalist and kind of supposedly was supposed to fix a lot of stuff. And but what happened in the end, so once they took power, there was like a more moderate part of the party that let's say cannibalized the whole thing and kicked out a lot of
But
a lot of the
it
communists.
started as a popular movement, right?
What?
It started out as like a popular movement, like
Yeah, it
this
had like
camp and all.
these circles that were like assemblies and so on, but those ended just as soon as they had to, and it makes sense because as soon as they had to fit in the system, they had to abandon those democratic processes like the circles and so on. They had like these circles of people who were deciding like in assemblies, and then they were voting for everything, for all of the
Right.
decisions that they had to make. But it made impossible with the accelerated cycles of we had like an average of one election a year because no government can stay in place right now because our politics, like our professional politics, like let's say like the parliamentary politics have changed in a way that there are no two big political parties. We had like these two big political parties that they more or less took power in by they took turns to take power and so on. But right now we have like a lot of different parties that everybody has like a chunk of the thing, and those professional politicians in general, they're not used to negotiating, and
Right.
they're not used to it. They're used to be just being in power because they're the now they cannot have it, and they're just freaking out. But inside of the party, Podemos, there's like a lot of infighting, and now we had like the Mass País, which is like a chunk of the most moderate people in Podemos. They split, and they're trying to run for these elections that are gonna happen in November in Spain, and it doesn't bode very well. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't
So
bode
that's
well.
a future. This can get watered down. In other words, unlike Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, it is as we speak. But I would say to everybody in Spain watching right now, you just stick with Podemos because it's not perfect. It is actually
Right.
very heavily flawed, but it's the only electoral option that we have. But
Well,
again,
the party over here in Chile that's been like more vocal about this has been the Frente Amplio,
yeah,
which I would call it like the hipster left,
yeah,
like probably the people that go to the Congress in their bicycle,
yeah,
that use B and all that. Those are like those people who are relatively young and all that, but are kind of like very new to all of this. Is kind of like has declared like something like that everything should be. I mean, the main industries should be nationalized, like copper, like lithium, and what else was like, I guess, public transport or something like that.
Yeah, expropiase all the way. That's the way.
Right.
It's
So
not,
they've been they if you want like they're like kind of like this a splinter that left the left and all that. They kind of like use old language and all that. But at the same time, they're still Burgie anyway.
yeah,
So
it's
I think that it's unfair and unrealistic to expect any political party to be perfect.
yeah,
I
definitely.
bring this up because you mentioned that the Polemos, I think you said it was,
Podemos, yeah.
isn't perfect. Yeah, but like more important than something being a perfect platform or like a perfect political party is whether or not it addresses the problems that you're currently having with the state,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Like that's a problem that we're having here in the states right now. Is that there are a bunch of there are a bunch of really small political parties that are trying to weasel their way into the system, but they're not actually addressing problems that people have.
yeah,
And like we had institutions that were like Black Lives Matter, institutions like the Tea Party and the Occupy movement, the Tea Party very early on, that were working to address these concerns that people actually had. And they just got busted up or they got folded into the system, like you were saying.
yeah,
Like co-opted by the right, I saw
Yeah,
in the case of the Tea Party.
yeah,
They became
exactly.
immediately nativists and all those kind of nasty
Well,
things.
I mean, there was always that strain of nativism, and the Tea Party was never left wing. They were always right wing, but they were also against the major corporations because even they knew the major corporations were doing all the bad things.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
They just wanted to be the major corporations instead of being at the service of the major corporations.
yeah.
Right.
And to be honest, you cannot expect anything that works within the system to work for the people. Like they can fix some wounds that are open and gaping, but the structural problems we need to fix ourselves by
Yeah,
organizing. It's all the way around. It's like,
Right. Well,
the
here in
best.
Chile, it would be perfectly possible if it was like an anarchist kind of like republic, if it weren't for the military, right? So,
well, you know who you need to convince.
Well, I
well,
mean, yeah. Is there any way
I've
you
been
can
saying
talk the
that
military out of doing military stuff?
well,
No,
our
never
military
mind. That
isn't the
sounds
military.
ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
They're the
makes a
police.
point though.
They're the police over here in Chile. I mean, you haven't had that problem that perhaps if what happens if Donald Trump commits a coup and all that, then you see who's on whose side. Over here, we have like a kind of like Battleship Potemkin kind of possibility, which is like I've been saying like on Facebook, I've been writing that actually the common soldier, the private, and like sergeants, like mid-level officers and all that, have the same enemy as we do
Yep.
because they don't have like any job security, they have low wages, they get mistreated on the job, get beaten up, or there even was like a scandal of young conscripts that were left on a mountainside during the winter to freeze. So I mean,
God.
we should get those kind of people on our side. Not to mention the whole kind of discrimination and homophobia and what have you in the police and the military.
So keep digging there. Keep throwing that rock.
Right. The Chileans over here are very ingenuous in regard to that. The military is like the enemy, and there's no way talking to them.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah,
of like the cops here in the U.S.
yeah.
Yeah, some people are saying like, "Hey, policeman, don't you know that you used to have a teacher, used to be one of us, cross the line."
That's been a very successful strategy by the on behalf of the fascists to infiltrate the military and the police, and
Yep.
Right,
it's really scary. It's really scary. So
right.
there's that.
In Venezuela, when that didn't happen, that's when Chavez came to power. Right.
Yeah, That's one of the things that you can ask to a party that runs in within the system is like they'll get you know get to promise you to get them to promise you to clean up the army and the police, to clean them up. I remember when we had this mayor in Madrid, the lefty, soft lefty mayor in Madrid, after decades of right wing governments in the city. There
You
was
could
like
call it
the
the same.
there was a big scandal about a chat of very fashy police people from the city that were like complaining and threatening to kill her and so on in their own fascistic fantasies, because she didn't let them, you know, do what they like to do, which is beating up the poor and all the commies and whatnot. So they were,
Right.
yeah, that was this big ass scandal, And what surprised me was like it was a huge scandal in the media, but no other. There was like a couple of police associations that were vocal against that kind of thing, and the rest just kept quiet because
Right.
there's so many in the on those bodies, and they need to get another job. I don't know, cleaning up or cooking, do whatever you want.
You
Just don't.
mean
Yeah,
like work camps for the fashion and all that? Well,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
Be a janitor.
I was gonna tell a story. It was something that happened yesterday as well. So there's like downtown. There's like these very like important like offices that belong to the military and what have you, and those are like filled with troops and such like that, like guarding the places. And there was like there were some protesters that walked up towards the military, and they're fully armed, like for Desert Storm and stuff like that. They're like really loaded for bear, as they say in the United States. And and the guy just kept going on their face in their face and like shouting at them right directly in their face. So one of the when militaries pick up one of their like automatic rifles and shoots in the air, right in front of like next to the ear of one of these guys that were
Ow.
like that was confronting him. And
Yikes.
the guy just lost it. I mean, he was like indignant, like that kind of like primal fury coming out of somebody being treated less than a human, and he
Yep.
started like beating up the soldier. So then it started getting into a kind of like a boxing match between the soldier and the protester. And then the other soldiers got on him and started beating him. But that's kind of like a resistance that we're having day to day in between shouting and all that.
Yeah. We need to remember that all cats are beautiful. All of them.
I
Right.
mean, I can't endorse a violence against a state. I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but I will say that, if someone's
It's a
pet, it's not
reaction.
something you can necessarily control all of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like they feel so empowered. They feel so, like they nobody can punish them anyway. They feel so powerful. They feel so encouraged in their own safety, and it's a very dangerous combo. Like they're empowered, but they're also in very deep fear, and that's a very dangerous combo. That makes and they know how to do it.
It's almost like they think their enemy is too strong and too weak at the same time.
Exactly, right from the alt right
Yeah,
handbook
Javi,
playbook.
this
What
has
was
been the
it? Yeah,
narrative that has been mentioning, right? I mean, because nobody has been used to like this amount of like insurrection and dissatisfaction here in Chile.
yeah. Well, let's get used to it. Let's make it happen. Same here in Spain.
Yeah, I mean, now normal is just a number on the. It's just a cycle in the washing machine.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of dangerous. But one of the things that these powerful people tend to ignore is that they're dealing with people. They're not dealing with numbers. They're not dealing with machines that are or like very unpredictable in that way for them.
Right. But they're trying to like make us predictable, like with these strategies and all that, like setting us against each other and what have you.
Yeah, we need to unlearn our programming. We've been told what to do all our lives. We've been told how to think. We need to undo that programming and learn how to live life minus the bullshit filters that capitalism imposes on us. We need to,
Right.
but that requires very deep self-exploration and very deep opening to other groups of people, and common and common experience and sharing with others their experience as well. So
Yeah,
it's
that's what I've
quite the
noticed.
And
That there's
exercise.
more.
capitalism does not reward that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've noticed that there's now a lot more like movement in the streets and people like more community living. And that was like one of the arguments that the Communist Party was pushing towards a 40 hour week. And it's noticeable when people don't have to like work long hours and such like that, they can start living
yeah, yeah,
and organizing, of course.
yeah. We need to say those things, like those simple things. Your boss is stealing from you. You don't need that bullshit that they're trying to sell to you all the time. And look to your sides, look to your left and look to your right, and look what people are around you. And that's what life is made of. Life is made of people. It's not made of bullshit objects or statuses that you need to achieve. They keep us in this silly rat race going for the next thing, the next bullshit. Which, by the way,
Right.
I'm gonna segue this into, because something happened
Can
recently.
you, okay, but when you sing, can you sing Bella Ciao instead of Solidarity Forever?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's
Sure.
my request. I've
You
been
got it.
singing it all week.
You got it, familia. You got it, familia. Well,
I lost the battery.
yeah. But we got. Have you noticed? Have you noticed recently that Theory Plebe had their channel just nuked?
Yes, I saw that. That's. Did they ever figure out? Did they ever figure out what that was about?
No, I offered them to come up over here and explain the whole situation, but in either or any case, I'd like to extend this solidarity song for Theory Plebe as well.
Yay.
So Rene, that's for you, but also Theory Plebe. This is solidarity forever, solidarity forever. Solidarity forever, cause the union makes us strong. Yeah,
But I
solidarity
said
forever.
I said Bella Ciao though.
That's another
Solidarity.
great one. Solidarity,
Yeah.
always. So, yeah, Theory Plebe. What the hell? What the hell? Hold your horses. YouTube nuked their channel. Nobody knows why, I guess, and there's gonna be a Twitter campaign to try and take it back, and I hope we can offer some mirroring, maybe some of the videos and on our
Yeah.
channels, and you guys know the drill. So let's do that, because it's really stupid
Right.
that leftist channels are being
What's
punished
the
just
what's the
because.
hashtag?
Huh?
What's the hashtag?
We're trying to figure it out because the campaign hasn't started
Because I've
yet.
seen it.
As is, Theory Plebe on YouTube. I see a thread over here. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Okay.
Okay.
It's Theory Plebe had been terminated. So where's all my content? But not they didn't just nuke the public channel. They also nuked the personal channel, where they had like a reel with for only professional reasons. And yeah, uh,
So it's an IP ban. That's
yeah,
even more interesting.
yeah, exactly. This is going like
Yeah,
I
let
think
me
it's
let
absolutely
me remember
brilliant.
that. I mean, I remember that I was with him like in one of the last. I mean, I was in chat, but I mean, he was like talking about Nietzsche,
yeah. So
and it was like theoretical like discussion regarding Nietzsche.
Oh, there we go. We
So
have a hashtag. It's hashtag free the plebe.
okay,
FREETHEPLEEB. Free the plebe. So there you go.
Okay, okay. I will
There's the
retweet that real quick.
there's this
so it'll
manifesto.
be Piñera Culiao and Free the Plebe.
Yeah. Yes, we need to throw that
Hashtag.
asshole out of power. That's they're done. And
Right.
hopefully
One
YouTube is
out,
gonna
and
cave in, to
we
theory
can
plea.
like exchange plebe for Piñera.
So there's yeah, let's check it out. They have like an article on Medium. I'm gonna try and put some materials later on there and see what happens. But yeah, that happened. What the hell? And
Yeah, I remember that he was like discussing regarding the individuation of the in regards of the person that's kind of like the danger nowadays in regards to like comparing it to what Nietzsche underwent and like kind of like in one moment he was talking about how to talk to a doomer, like somebody who's really pessimist,
yeah.
and how to see like a ray of hope if you become like part of like a more grander struggle or something like that.
Mm,
But it
that's
was like kind of complicated because it was like he was talking to a Nigerian American, so there was like a kind of like a post-colonial narrative that he couldn't discuss well, shall we say,
yeah,
since he was more like focused on philosophy.
yeah. It's so strange.
Right, and then all of a sudden this happened. They took him out. Well, Chris Lapaco was also like removed from Twitter and YouTube.
You know for sure it's because of that one video.
It could have been it could have been cumulative, but I mean that was like kind of like oddly enough that was like one of the last videos that he made.
Yeah, because that's not a reason to nuke a whole channel, right?
Yeah,
It's
So there might be a few the way that it's sounding to me. I have a little bit of experience
yeah.
with nuking channels. What it's sounding to me like is that someone did this deliberately. This was like a mass report, like what happened to the serfs.
Okay. Yeah.
or Chris Lapaco probably. Right.
Yeah. Which means that getting in touch with like Twitter HQ, not Twitter, YouTube HQ might solve the problem. But on the other hand, especially since YouTube's been more finicky about political content, especially recently, it might have the opposite effect. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to tell because like we know that the people who work for Google uh, are very pro left. They're very upset with the policies of the leaders of Google HQ. But the leaders in Google HQ are more interested in, maintaining their profits
Yeah.
Right.
and,
There's a kind of like a
not losing advertisers. And it just so happens that a lot of their advertisements are also right wing cretins. PragerU does a lot of advertisements on YouTube, for example.
Yeah.
It's complicated. And, like, even if we have manpower, like I feel like there's something that gets overlooked in that like even if you take all of the far left content, all of the left wing content on YouTube, that's like a drop in the bucket compared to how many people come to YouTube for like makeup vlogs or to find music or fucking
Unboxing videos.
cats. Cats.
unboxing videos. Yeah.
As for makeup tutorials, big shout out to Combat Clem, who makes the best makeup tutorials, full of wonderful leftist Trojan horses.
Well, in this case, we need more makeup tutorials about makeup regarding the Joker and all that, so we can go to the streets like
right?
Y
You met.
acojonarlos,
Ay,
like
ay,
in
let's scare the
Alex de
shit
la
out of
Iglesia.
him. Was it somewhere I read that the Juggalo makeup was very good at confusing face
At
identification.
confusing Face ID, yeah,
Yeah.
I read about that too. I don't know if it's true though.
Oh man, I
That's
don't
something
know.
I would. That's something I would have to see firsthand.
Right, right. Let's give it a shot. I'm just
So
saying.
has anybody been in contact with theory plea?
No, I just saw the whole thing on Twitter. I offer them just to let me know if you want to stream about it or whatever.
Right,
But for the looks of it, like last I checked, they have something going on already. So
right. You
yeah,
can like shift to Twitch, I guess,
yeah. Uh,
because Chris Lapaco's now back on as well.
well,
Chris Lapaco's
They're
is
doing.
back
That's
on Twitter at
interesting.
least.
oh, okay. They're going
I've
to
got to leave.
Twitch. They're going to Twitch.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's gonna be a
I
Twitch
have
stream.
got to leave for a few minutes.
Okay, don't worry about it.
I'll be. I'll be back.
We're
I'll be
super
right
chilled
back.
about it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know because but yeah, let's see. There's no. It says YouTube. I was experimenting. There's the whole thread here. I was experimenting with way of saying things and editing in different areas, keeping it the same in others, and there should be nothing illegal or punishable about the experimenting like this. So okay, my featured channels are gonna resist mainstream media and its assault on public spaces performs like this. So okay, I don't know if any of this is useful for, but it sucks, and we need to support. We need to stand Fury Plebe right now, and
Right.
and try and find the
I
best.
guess we have to develop like a kind of like a strategy that we can like switch between Twitch and YouTube and VMO and what have you, and to
Yeah,
keep them guessing, I suppose.
yeah. I'm gonna have to go on Twitch.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
a subtext.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay. Eventually I'll do it. I've been resisting to go on Twitch, but
Right.
eventually it will happen. It will
Well,
happen.
I'm still trying to get my chat channel on YouTube in Spanish and all that, dealing with politics. I've been promising that to Juan Gomez for a while.
Yeah, go for it.
Juan Gomez.
And you know that if you need any advice on the thing, just hit me up. I can help you with
No, I'm
technical stuff.
especially inviting you to speak in your native tongue as well.
Ah, so
Teach,
true.
teach us how teach Argentinians and Chileans how to speak it, I suppose.
I mean, Chileans, you have the reputation of being the Spanish-speaking people most difficult to understand. It's like
Right.
you're like
The
like
Australians.
yeah, like the Australians for the English speakers, and like the Danish for the Scandinavian people.
Right.
But it's fine. We get it. We get it. We just I'm super grandpa and kind of half deaf. So challenged as I am, I understand you guys. So fair enough.
Right. No, basically it's kind of like a deformation of Canarian and what have you, Andalusian probably.
Yeah. Well, the Canary Island people, they got all the accent from the back in the day. They when before airplanes, basically they were like the communications hub between Europe
The New
and
World.
America. Yeah.
Right.
So they had all the Latin American people going on, and they just got the accent. Really nice mix.
Okay.
It's really really cool, really cool. So yeah, we'll try and show as much solidarity with the people of Chile with all the
Right.
protests.
Any information, you can follow me on Instagram as Renee Moncayo. Also on Facebook, I'm known as Thomas Jerome Newton, like the David Bowie character. And I also run a Facebook group called Socialists and Anarchists for Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn.
That's cool.
You can find it there, right? I also run several music-related channels, but that's not as politically motivated. And you can always find me probably either on here as in the chat or on Twitch with the Surfs
Yeah,
or Bunny, people like that.
yeah. Always hanging. We're a
Right.
nice group of people.
And follow people like Chile Oculto with a K. Oculto with a K. Okulto.
Chile Oculto. I'm gonna
Yeah.
type it in the chat. Chile Oculto.
With the K of Ocupa, as you know.
Yeah, of Ocupa, of course. Ocupa y resiste.
Exactly.
Damn, I was in the Ocupa movement when I was younger. Very, very, very involved in that thing.
Well, you have to come down over here one of these days and offer like seminars and such.
Yes. Yes, we should totally do some networking.
How to stop the circular firing squad probably, and how to deal with centrists and fascists.
How to deal with centrists and liberals.
Yeah, but there was like a Spanish guy that had like a channel, and he had like the saying that said "Tranquilo, liberal, tranquilo," and I said you should get like a T-shirt saying that.
Yeah, yeah, because most liberal people, they're like the people, regular people. They're nice people. They wanna do the right thing. They just misguided. They're just caught up in the bubble that nothing outside the system is possible. So they're trying to do the best they can with the very limited tools that the system gives them.
Well, there's that, and also there's also like different phases of. It's like evolution, right? They're like the Homo habilis, and we're like either the Neanderthals or the Homo sapiens sapiens and all that, right? At the same time, it's basically what kind of degree of commerce or private property or what have you want to remain in place.
Yeah.
But in situations like this, it's kind of like, I was arguing, as I was saying on the supermarket line, and I told like some people that were like bourgeois people that were like complaining about the social change, and of course like poor people that don't do nothing and that are waiting for subsidies and all that. I said immediately, you people, that kind of thinking vanished. That's long gone. You're thinking like you're like in feudalism times. You're thinking like feudalists. That's gone. Goodbye.
You're stuck in the 18th century.
Right. That's like with this with ecological on the brink of ecological disaster. That's gone.
It's gonna grant us the extinction.
Sort of capitalist terms, like consumers are what drives economies, and it always amazes me that capitalists seem to be the people who understand capitalism, or at least the macroeconomics of capitalism, the absolute least. It's always bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's kind of like subliminal, right? It's like kind of it operates on its own. For instance.
Cog is in the house. Yeah. Welcome.
Yes, hi. Yes, yeah. I've been quietly sitting and watching because I know very little about Chilean politics, I'm afraid.
Did you heard about the BBC News crew that got shot?
No, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, the journalist's name is Luciani Gomez with an S, just like the actress Michelle Gomez, and she was like interviewing a bloke, like I guess it was an expat because they were speaking in English, and it was like after the curfew, and they were like talking in the midst of an interview, and suddenly they got shot. And actually, the interviewee got shot.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I picked a bad time to come in.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
No, I was mentioning the thing about the BBC News crew getting shot.
Jesus.
You heard this before. But since you're in the UK, you can like pressure about that and like kick Pinera in the money bags because, of course, the UK is an important trade partner and such.
Yeah, if you want to send it to my Facebook page, I've got a fairly large following on Facebook compared to most of my other things. So send it to my Facebook page, and I will share the story there direct from your Facebook page.
Yeah, I
Okay, it might
wanted to
be like
ask
a
about that
few
earlier.
weeks
Was
later.
it, just to be clear, was it the military that was shooting at journalists?
Yep.
Yep.
Tits on the Virgin Mary.
There's a curfew, basically. That's the excuse, and they go trigger
Well,
happy.
it happened during the Iraq War. Ask Javi about the Spanish news team that got shot.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's like, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that's a really fast way to get the entire public against you, is to shoot at the news teams.
Yep. Very bad optics.
Well,
and
this was like it happened to like a foreign like a news journalist, because over here the news is right behind the status quo, and we're very like insular people. Of course, so there are like various people indignant. I'm just thinking that this might galvanize international community, especially like the UK, even if in the midst of Brexit, to call Pineda to attention.
Yeah, but you can't expect a lot from current British government right now.
Yes.
They cannot do shit.
You're pushing the boat out there, mate.
If you're really lucky, Boris Johnson will say that the Chilean government is a woman's blouse.
Yes. If you're extremely lucky, he will deliver that diplomatic blow.
Or say
Yeah.
he should have done more, or something like that.
Oh God, yes. But yeah, I'm afraid part of the reason I haven't heard about this is because the UK is just mired in its own problems.
Yeah.
At the moment, because we've got 9 days till Brexit, and it's like somebody with a terminal illness, but utterly in denial about the fact that the deadline is coming up.
This is like that dog meme, like this is fine.
Yeah. The dog with the fire in the background.
Like that, but unironically.
I am currently that dog. I am sitting here drinking a cup of tea, pretending it's all going to be fine. When in reality, we know it's not. But this is something
you have to develop an Irish brew.
As far as Brexit goes, I'm consistently surprised that there aren't people literally rioting in the streets over this. Like, there are people calling. I'm to understand that there are large swaths of people calling for a second vote. Why aren't people? Is the veneer of civility that thick in Great Britain? I don't understand.
I think there was a 1 million people demonstration in London today, right?
And there's also the case that there's various like Britain, like on the border with Ireland, they see it completely a different way, and in Scotland as well.
Yeah, it's in Scotland and Ireland. You've got two separate issues there, but with Ireland, we've got the problem that this withdrawal bill that's just been put before the House of Parliament, which is 110 pages long. And they've given MPs 3 days to vote on this bill. And the thing is no one's been able to draw up economic impact assessments, so nobody exactly knows what it does. But what they do know is there's no provision for the Irish backstop. So basically, it would be a return to a hard border in Northern Ireland.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is the worst of all possible solutions, I'm to understand.
Mm-hmm.
That would start another fucking civil war.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, there's that, and also it isn't applicable because now there's people can just jump over the border. Basically, the amount of commercial and basically living over the border and such like that. It's completely impractical.
Yeah.
The only hope behind that is that it might lead to a united Ireland because the unionists are a very small number now.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm always cautious about this question because I come from an Irish background, it's a difficult thing because I would like to see Ireland reunified, but I don't think it's a price to pay. That it's enough. I don't think the cause is really great enough to go through the means of getting there, because the means of getting there would be violent, bloody conflict.
Yeah.
And people forget that the Unionist forces actually killed more than the Republican forces in Northern Ireland during the Troubles.
Yep.
They always were much worse. Groups like the UVF, they were always much worse, and they did things like declaring war on the British Army as well. Completely, the worst kind of nationalist nuts.
Yep.
And I've no desire to see that brought back to the surface again, I guess.
But they're the minority, though, and it's the populace that's demanding it.
Yeah.
We can only hope that they get so embarrassed by the Brexit deal that they go like, okay, you were right.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, maybe we should have broke from Westminster a long time ago. Jesus Christ. Yeah. I just can't believe it. This whole thing with the Brexit deal, this 110 pages that have got to be passed in 3 days. People have been pointing out that the Great Salmon Act of 1986 was the MPs had more time to vote on that, and the Great Salmon Act of 1986 was about whether it should be legal to handle salmon in suspicious circumstances, and they took a month to decide that. So the idea that they could decide this Brexit thing in 3 days is ridiculous.
And on the other side is, but this has been like a long time, like being discussed back and forth. But on the other hand, there's the reaction of Europe on a whole in regards to this.
It's spent a long time being discussed back and forth between the European Union and the UK. But in terms of this agreement, they've only just come up with this in the last month, and the MPs have only seen it for 3 days. It's unfortunate. I kind of wanted to talk about, if you don't mind, a kind of existential crisis I'm noticing as the far right rises. I think capitalists and the far right are feeling the existential dread of something like climate change, and they know deep down that the system that they're protecting is unsustainable in the long term. And I think what that's resulting in is that people's, or rather capitalists' vision into the future, their telescopic vision, is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. They're seeing much less far into the future, and everything is short-term solutions. And it's even down to the point where the police, in Chile, for example, aren't thinking of like long-term solutions and the need to create a good relationship with the people. It's all short-term brutality, and how can we suppress and destroy as quickly as possible?
In certain circumstances, I mean, schizophrenic or split personality or dissociated personality circumstances in which there was like a situation where the police, a group of police started of Bobbies or Pacos or Carineros started crying and started hugging the rioters and stuff like that. I mean, and asking for forgiveness. And there's been like a policeman that's like thrown down his uniform and quit the police force and all that. So and perhaps that's why in the long term that they have called out for the military, who are a bit more like more hardcore than the police in certain instances. And even then, there's like that kind of like dissociation where the president declares war and the general says that he's not at war with anyone.
Yeah, I have to say,
I think
like
part of. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I have a different answer to that, and that is that the reason the solutions that people have are getting more short-term and more short-term is because the profits that they can derive things from are becoming more and more short-term and short-term. Marx would talk about capitalism creating a situation in which it destroys itself, more or less. And I think that we're very quickly approaching that point. It's not. This isn't anything out of the ordinary.
The reference that capitalism can only think of the end of the existence, of the end of the world, the end of human life, rather than the end of capitalism.
It's easier to think of the end of the world than the end of capitalism. Yeah, but capitalism is always the way things are set up right now is explicitly not just in like government terms, but in business terms, is short-term gain at long-term loss. It's playing you're playing against other people and you need immediate profit immediately. You see it in like the video game industry is the best example. They've been milking people for like 2 years now, and now they're a hair's breadth away from being busted up. You see it in social media where it's more profitable for them to disseminate lies for a profit than it is to maintain their legitimacy as uh, a source where people can get reliable news.
Hmm.
You see
I'd
it in
say
the federal government
it's
here in the United States,
right.
right? Trump is more obsessed with keeping his image now than he is with even the election, which is next year.
Right.
Mm.
But it's even more evident, like in extractive industries like mining and such, especially since it's the lifeblood of Chile. That it's basically easier to think of fracking or hard, heavy duty extraction that leaves like the landscape barren and affects the glaciers and all that, rather than thinking of a long term solution in regarding to more friendlier energy kind of ecological kind of industries. Even though here in Chile in the north they're using like they're working with solar and wind power
Mm.
as, as an alternative and all that, but we've been like very affected by hydroelectric plants that kind of dry up the landscape. And just now there has been like a situation which they've been showing on Facebook that one of our like main rivers, the Concagua River, allegedly was dried up in this process of desertification, and all of a sudden we see it at its full strength as if somebody opened the reservoir in the midst of all of this unrest.
So it would be safe to say that capitalism is dying of old age, which kind of sucks. Let him reign for over 40 years, and
Well, there's a
the problem is what the options that are available are not so pretty, if you know what I mean. We could go to feudalism, post-capitalism feudalism, or
not
socialism. That would be nice, but there are so many ways in which socialism can manifest itself as well, and not some of them are not desirable, not ideal, let's say.
Yeah, but the advantage of socialism is that it involves it involves critique, it involves criticism, so there's still the possibility of renovation there.
Yeah, it's the ultimate form
I
of
mean, the
democracy.
capitalists will tell you that capitalism necessitates a sort of criticism too. But any system, and I was saying this before, no system is perfect, and any system can be gained. Even a socialist system can end up being like total shit. And don't get me wrong, I'm in favor of a socialist system. I think a socialist system would solve the problems that we have in the immediate future. But it wouldn't be perfect. We need to iron out a lot of kinks.
Yeah, it needs a lot of democracy going on in there.
Are we looking for perfection?
Some
Eventually,
people are.
one
Some
step at a
people are.
time, people. One step at a time. What's the brush?
Mm.
You're talking to guys that are dressed in black. I don't know if perfection is in our vocabulary.
Mm. I like to use a metaphor when people talk about perfection and the desire to move towards political goals which may seem out of reach. And that's the idea that if I were to tell you that racial equality would never actually be achieved, if we were to move from that assumption, does that mean you would suddenly stop fighting racism? I don't think so. I think that actually you carry on moving towards that goal, regardless of whether you think you're going to actually achieve the utopia or not.
Yeah, and we
But
have
even that is imperfect. But
and
striving toward it is a struggle in itself.
like if we had like socialism as of today, we'd still have a lot of cultural baggage to get rid of. we have a lot to unlearn.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Karl Marx says it in the 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte in the introduction. He talks about the need to unlearn the language of the previous regime because he was writing in the context of the 1848 revolutions. After the 1848 revolutions, the socialists of Europe sort of had to reflect on how badly things had gone because it looked like in 1848 it looked like there were going to be consistent consistent chain of worldwide revolution. But unfortunately, things just fell back into the way they were. And when Karl Marx was writing about this, he said it's like learning a language. When you first learn a language, you still think in your mother tongue. And you have got to work hard, really hard, in order to turn that situation around. And it's an interesting thing because he was right. I think if you look at the revolutions of the past 200 years, if you look at Stalin, for example, he was going from effectively what was a Tsarist dictatorship into what turned out to be eventually a communist form of Tsarist dictatorship, with Mao, with many other revolutionaries. You could even draw the comparison with Bonaparte after the French Revolution.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's worth bearing in mind that it's hard work to effectively revolutionize. But of course, that's what we mean when we say revolution. We're not just talking about the physical act of revolution. We're talking about revolutionizing a whole society
As a process.
Right.
As a
Yes.
process,
That's what
a
we're
long
going-
one.
Well, everywhere actually, right?
Yeah, with so
But-
much to unlearn. You know, it takes me to social
that's-
networks.
So that's where the quote comes from that that the old world is dying and the new one is struggling to be born.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, it takes me to social networks, like how we behave with each other, and to the famous cannibal left, where everybody bickering with each other and saying, "No, my solution is the best, and yours sucks."
Well, that's the circular flying squad, and that's what the fascists do when they infiltrate the anarchist circles and such.
Yeah, you
It
know.
is. Those are explicitly fifth column tactics.
Yeah.
And I have a video planned about that in it's going to have to be in December because all of the videos I have for next month are planned out too.
Looking forward to it. Do you guys know the Life of Brian? The sketch from the Life of Brian of the People's Front of Judea.
People's Front.
Yes, yeah, the Judean People's Front and the People's Front of Judea.
Absolutely.
They're brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And who are the Popular Front of Judea? Can't talk to those people.
I grew up in a half Catholic household, so I was never allowed to watch The Life of Brian. Although Monty Python and the Holy Grail was one of my dad's favorite movies.
Well, you can watch it now. It's really good stuff. It's never late to
Yeah.
check it out.
As a lapsed Catholic, I absolve you, my son.
I might have to look that up.
Yeah, check it out. It's fun. It's a joy
Yes.
to watch. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
fantastic.
And good practices. Be wholesome to each other. Be nice to each other. I know that a lot of people like to role play as the tough people. Going, I'm a leftist. I don't need to be your friend to be your comrade. And
No, that's idiotic. I mean, at the most, I've said that perhaps there's an American expat over here. Shout out to Orangeism. That Natalie that was complaining that she feels uncomfortable under the situation with the curfew and all that. And it struck to me as whining and such like that, to first world problems. But at the same time, I couldn't be too rough on her. And we were talking about that regarding resilience, that being tough and hard, it's being something that's brittle rather than something that's pliant and supple, which is necessary in order to be resilient, I suppose.
Yeah, flexible, like bamboo.
Right.
So I'm gonna send a tough cuddle to Gamazats as well. I like the he just said like I'm tough but I can cuddle. Tough cuddles.
Of course, that's practice.
That's why I always say that in the next Soviet Union has to be with Mediterranean
Well, actually,
characteristics.
there was a Spanish brigade that fought in the Second World War, not only on the side of the Nazis but for the Soviets as well, right? So they should
Yeah.
have learned something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they need to take a page from our book here, the Mediterranean book, the being happy with each other.
Yeah, but
Don't be afraid to
noticing
hug.
what I've seen from the Russians is that they can be Mediterranean, but they have to be drunk first, kind of like the Japanese.
Yeah, don't mess with those with those Slavs. Oh my god. Yeah, I've been amongst Slavs for a while, and you know, once they open up, they're the nicest people ever. You just gotta break the shell,
Right, exactly.
and that shell is the problem that can get in the way. You know, that it's just, you know, you're a leftist. Just don't be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Don't be, you know, it defeats the purpose. We're working for solidarity and
Right.
union.
Because
We're
anybody,
already awful
anybody-
enough as it is. Why would you contribute to that?
Yeah, exactly. Don't reproduce the capitalist dog eat dog ideology. You just be nice and, you know, relax. And we're all fucked. We're all raging. We're all very angry inside. We need to know who to be angry towards, and it's not towards each other. It's
right,
definitely,
you have to be like a strong but cuddly bear.
yeah. You need to
With
be like
fangs.
sods, motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying. Like, it really defeats the purpose being a leftist and being all macho and bravado and bullshit.
Well,
Well, I mean,
that's
like,
mm,
I'm macho and I'm a big tough guy, but I don't do that on purpose. That's just my personality.
Yeah,
right.
that
But you're kind of like soft spoken, so there's like a
but,
kind of duality.
and a very approachable and nice person. You never say nasty stuff to people. It's not about you know, being physically strong and secure of yourself, which is really nice. It's about, you know, being secure of yourself enough just to go like, yeah, can I help you? You know, that's all.
What I've seen that like pisses off the fash is that the new left, the new Communist Party, the new socialists and anarchists aren't homophobic anymore, and it also has a lot to do with gender issues and things like that. So
Yeah,
all of those like previous problems, all that have vanished.
moxic masculinity, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, that came from like the guerrillas in the Cuban countryside and all that were like used to like that kind of language and stuff like that. Like in Nicaragua, where it's okay to sodomize a man, but as long as you're on top,
Okay.
and it's the bottom who's like suffers all the homophobia and discrimination,
Yeah, like
like that kind of mentality.
the Colombias has the smoothest talking death squads ever. They talk with that really nice accent. They can kill you and they gonna kill you with a smile.
Ay, qué pena me da, pero puedes venir conmigo, por favor, pana.
Oh my god, those sweet accents. I got a friend from Mexico. He's always like, oh my god. When somebody from Colombia approaches him, he's like, I can't say no to this person.
Okay. Well, that happens to the Mexicans as well. They like kind of like start talking nonsense, and we like throw ourselves to their feet, I suppose.
Does it happen with English accents as well?
English,
Not really.
no,
We think that English speakers are stupid because they like speak Spanish like children.
Like gringos, like gringuito.
Yeah,
the English people
often.
speak every language like children. That's not unique to Spanish.
Yeah, but we fall for that, and all of a sudden, where's our country? We're
Yes.
playing the British Empire.
Yes, we're not used to having to learn other people's languages. Doesn't suit us.
Those people
No.
in the colonies, come on.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Oh God, Oh God, to be British is really embarrassing now.
But
Well,
he's so polite.
now
He
with
said he was
Brexit
gonna
more than
help.
ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bloody hell. Yeah. Oh God.
We
Yeah.
love you.
But
We love you guys anyway.
I can technically become a dual citizen with the EU, so I'm banking on that because
You can be
I'm
Irish.
part Irish. So
Yeah, you can claim that.
Go full
Leave
Irish.
everybody else in the lurch.
yeah. Actually, my cousin already lives in Spain, in Malaga. So I might one day run away as a refugee. I might end up in Spain as a refugee. So I'll be sure to come say hi, Javi.
Yeah. Come hang out anytime. I'm in Madrid, but I'm gonna go to Malaga in January if things go well. I'm working in this movie, and well, I worked in this movie. The movie is already done, and we're running for the Goya Awards. They're like the Spanish Oscars for the Spanish Academy of Cinema.
cool.
It's pretty
Wicked.
freaking neat. It was a shit ton of work. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm still tired from it, but yeah.
Felicidades, suerte con eso.
Gracias. Thank you very much. Yeah, and we're gonna we're gonna run for these awards. I don't know if we're gonna be nominated or not, but if we're nominated, we're gonna have to go to Malaga in January. So no, I don't think I'll pack my swimsuit, but it will certainly would be a thing.
Don't you need a tuxedo for the awards and things like that?
Oh, I hope not. I don't wanna. I
You
wanna.
have to sell.
Fuck, I hate wearing a suit. Like I'm thinking of wearing a suit for one of the new scripts for one of the videos, and it's like dressing like the enemy. I don't wanna, not anymore. Like when I was younger,
Yeah, I don't.
it's that kind of thing.
That's something that I realized about myself is that I can never trust a person who wears a fucking suit. It's
I wear suits
like
all
an
the time.
ingrained thing.
It's like Kim Jong-un. You can like wear a suit.
Traitor.
It's more likely that the people who are fucking you over they wear suits, not rags. That's something that we need to get into fascists' heads. That people who are screwing them over are not. But I think, like fascism, this is kind of a hot take, but fascism is like you get there out of love, but you get there out of love for very few people and hate for the rest of the others. Like you get
It's like the
out of fear.
circles of
Yeah, kind of you love some people, but you're afraid that the others are gonna screw them up or something, and then it's when you act out of that fear and get into that rage and that bullshit. Because
But that could be like the conceit of fascism. I kind of like collect clothing. I used to collect toy soldiers and all that. So if you want to ask anything about like fascism, but you probably know Frankism. And I lived under the dictatorship. Did you manage to live under Franco, Javi?
No, I was born on the same year that the dictator died. But we can say that technically we're under Francoism still, just with a nice face, if you know what I'm saying. Like, because none of the judges were replaced. Huh?
I grew up under Pinochet. I mean, I lived in the United States, but I would come over, and in 1985 I came over here and stayed since. So I managed to live a few years under Pinochet, listening to him talking on the television with his irritating, clownish nasal voice. And, yeah, being afraid of the militarized police, being stopped for nonsense, and being heckled by the police.
Yep.
Running from the police and tear gas and all that. It's part of my lexicon. Also, people being used to being like controlled practically by the television. I mean, staying in front of the TV for hours and not getting out on the streets or anything. For this probably people in the United States have heard of him, like Don Francisco, who's like a variety kind of like TV host.
Yeah.
Who had like a television program that lasts like 12 hours in Chile.
Shit.
And that kind of like put us to sleep.
Yeah.
Crap.
I mean, at least Aló Presidente was entertaining because of Hugo Chavez's radio voice.
But he wasn't even he wasn't even like the president. He was just like
Just
I guess
some
working
puppet.
for the hegemony. Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Jesus.
Recently he's been on the TV like yesterday, I suppose, and he was like crying because of what happened to the social fabric of Chile and all that, and he hadn't noticed that so many people were suffering on the disparity, and he as a social communicator wasn't aware of what was going on, and all these kind of like fake tears and all that. So I wrote on Facebook that he was actually crying because he lost the opportunity of having another bullshit TV show on the telly, and making use of the military curfew like he used to do when under Pinochet.
Yeah, exactly.
Satan is probably sat on a cloud, in hell right now, thinking, Jesus, a 12-hour television show. That is cruelty beyond belief. It's a bit harsh. Jesus.
Right.
Every day.
Yeah, it was kind of like schizophrenic because it had like comedy routines, it had game shows. It was like everything under one. It was actually like kind of like a communist kind of Stalinist ideal, I suppose, regarding TV, like having everything under one roof, under one brand.
Yeah. They massage you into submission. They get you tired with that long ass, boring piece of shit show.
Right. Imagine that Juego de la Oca.
Yeah. Oh shit, that was bad. Okay, family, I think we're gonna wrap it up if it's okay with you guys. We've been a little bit over 2 hours.
Yes.
So, let's wrap it up with a song. Todos los fascistas viven cara al culo, por eso no ven más allá de su nariz, cara al culo. Ya que sois tan religiosos, ¿por qué no le dais la paliza al muñeco con la forma de vuestro Dios? Fuck all those fascist people. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Cog. And thank you so much. Thank you. Gracias, tío, por venir. Mwah. And have a lot of fun. I'm gonna press the end stream and mwah. Hugs and tough hugs and revolutionary kisses to everybody. Bye.
No pasarán.
No pasarán.